Los Angeles, 1947, a city of dreams and nightmares. In the heart of the glitz and glamour, a gruesome discovery would forever shatter the illusion of Hollywood's golden age. The story of the Black Dahlia is not just a crime, it's a mystery that has haunted the city for over 75 years. Who was Elizabeth Short? And why was her death one of the most shocking and brutal murders in American history? The answers remain hidden, but the questions continue to haunt us. Elizabeth Short, an aspiring actress, just 22 years old. Born in Massachusetts, she dreamed of leaving the small town behind, lured by the bright lights of Hollywood. Like many before her, she chased fame in a city where ambition and danger intertwined. But Los Angeles wasn't all movie stars and red carpets. For someone like Elizabeth, struggling to survive, the city could be unforgiving. She found herself moving from place to place, often penniless, depending on the kindness of strangers. And then, there was the nickname, the Black Dahlia. Some say it came from her preference for wearing dark clothes. Others claim it was a reference to a popular film of the time. But whatever the reason, it was a name that would become synonymous with one of the most chilling unsolved murders in American history. January 15th, 1947. A chilly morning in Leimert Park. A passerby notices something unusual in a vacant lot, a sight that would soon terrify the city. At first glance, it looked like a broken mannequin, carelessly discarded. But this was no mannequin. It was the lifeless body of Elizabeth Short, cut in half, her corpse mutilated and posed in a grotesque manner. Her face had been slashed into a permanent, eerie smile. Her body had been drained of blood, and the precision of the cuts suggested something far more sinister than a random act of violence. The city was gripped with fear. Who could be capable of such an atrocity, and why would they choose Elizabeth Short as their victim? The discovery of Elizabeth Short's body sent shockwaves through Los Angeles. Police immediately launched an investigation, but it was unlike any they had encountered before. Her murder was not just brutal, it was meticulously calculated. Over 750 LAPD officers were put on the case, scouring the city for clues, suspects, and motives. But nothing came easy. The crime scene itself raised more questions than answers. There was no blood at the scene, suggesting Elizabeth had been murdered elsewhere. Whoever was responsible knew what they were doing. They had taken their time. But who could have done this? The first to fall under suspicion was Robert Manley, a man who had been one of the last to see Elizabeth alive. He had driven her back to Los Angeles from San Diego just days before her murder. Manley cooperated fully with the investigation, even undergoing a lie detector test, but in the end, he was cleared. Then came the real suspects. One name that would come up again and again was Dr. George Hodel. Hodel was no ordinary man. He was a prominent Los Angeles doctor with a dark side. His medical knowledge gave him the skills necessary to dismember a body with surgical precision. But it was more than just his profession that linked him to the Black Dahlia. His own son, Steve Hodel, a former LAPD detective, would later accuse his father of being the killer. Steve uncovered evidence from Hodel's private life, including a chilling connection to other unsolved murders. A confession? Not quite. But George Hodel fled the country shortly after the murder, adding fuel to the fire of suspicion. Could this once respected doctor have been hiding the darkest of secrets? The LAPD thought so. Yet, despite multiple investigations, they could never definitively prove his guilt. As news of the Black Dahlia murder spread, so did the media frenzy. The press was hungry for details, and Elizabeth's story became front-page news across the country. But it wasn't just the crime that captivated people. It was the name, the mystery, the allure of Hollywood's dark underbelly. In an era of post-war optimism, this crime shattered the illusion of a glamorous Los Angeles. It was as if the city's darkest secrets were suddenly laid bare. But as the press sensationalized every detail, they also distorted the truth. Stories began to circulate about Elizabeth's private life, rumors of affairs, connections to mobsters, and a supposed double life. The media painted her as a femme fatale, a woman whose mysterious aura somehow made her a target. But were these stories grounded in truth, or just a ploy to sell more papers? And then, Hollywood itself got involved. The mystery of the Black Dahlia became inspiration for countless films, books, and television shows. It was as if Elizabeth had become immortalized, not as a victim, but as a symbol of a city's corruption. A real-life noir that refused to fade from the public's imagination. Even today, the fascination remains. The Black Dahlia murder has become an unsolved puzzle that true crime fans and investigators alike are desperate to crack. But is there more to the story than we've been told? Could the truth have been buried beneath layers of media sensationalism and Hollywood myth? Despite years of investigation, despite thousands of suspects and endless theories, the case of the Black Dahlia remains unsolved. But that hasn't stopped the speculation. From police corruption to high society cover-ups, the theories about who killed Elizabeth Short are as dark and twisted as the crime itself. Some believe that the LAPD itself was involved in a cover-up. After all, how could a murder so horrific, with so many clues, go unsolved for decades? Whispers of corruption ran deep, and some investigators suspected that powerful figures in Los Angeles society may have silenced the truth. Others point to the idea that Elizabeth may have crossed paths with dangerous men connected to the mob, who had the power to make her disappear and ensure no one would ever know the full story. Some say she knew too much, or that she was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then there's the theory of the lone wolf, a psychopath who acted alone, driven by dark fantasies. Dr. George Hodel is often cited as this figure, with his medical expertise and a private life full of disturbing behavior. But even if Hodel wasn't the killer, could it have been someone like him? Someone lurking in the shadows of Hollywood, hidden in plain sight? With modern forensics, DNA analysis, and decades of research, you might think the case would finally be solved. Yet every lead turns cold, every suspect slips away. Could it be that the Black Dahlia case is destined to remain a mystery, forever buried in the shadows of Los Angeles? As the investigation dragged on, leads grew cold. The more the LAPD probed into Elizabeth Short's life, the more tangled the web of secrets became. Each suspect seemed to be a dead end, and as the years passed, the trail of the Black Dahlia grew colder. Decades passed. The once vibrant headlines turned into whispered conversations, and the memory of the Black Dahlia faded into the annals of crime history. But one thing remained, a chilling sense of unfinished business. Even as new technology developed, even as cold case detectives reopened the file, Elizabeth Short's murder continues to defy explanation. It's a ghost that lingers in the shadows of a city that has tried so hard to forget. But why does the case still haunt us? Why do we find ourselves drawn back into the mystery, time and time again? In recent years, advances in forensic science have rekindled hope that one day the truth about the Black Dahlia might finally come to light. Cold case detectives have re-examined every piece of evidence using DNA technology to comb through what was once thought to be irrelevant. Some believe that answers lie in newly uncovered police records, old suspects long forgotten, or the potential DNA evidence that could still be hiding in plain sight. But despite this renewed interest, every new lead brings us back to the same haunting question. Was the truth buried too deep for anyone to ever find? The more we uncover, the more elusive the killer becomes. Could it be that the Black Dahlia's murderer was a master of deception, someone who knew how to cover their tracks so well that even modern science can't catch up? Or perhaps after all these years, the answers have simply been lost to time. The legacy of the Black Dahlia lives on, not just in crime history, but in the heart of popular culture. Hollywood still feels the echoes of that chilling day, and Elizabeth Short's name has become immortalized in film, literature, and the imagination of true crime fans. From classic noir films to modern crime dramas, her story has been told and retold, each version feeding the mythos of Hollywood's dark underbelly. But the reality behind the glamour is far more terrifying, because Elizabeth Short was not just a character in a story. She was a real woman with real dreams, who met a fate that no one deserves. In the end, the Black Dahlia murder is more than a mystery. It's a cautionary tale, a reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk behind the brightest lights. It's a puzzle that remains unsolved, and perhaps it was meant to be that way. 75 years later, we are still left with more questions than answers. Who was responsible for Elizabeth Short's brutal death? Was it someone close to her, A stranger? Or a figure hidden in plain sight? Why was her life taken so violently, and why has the killer never been found? Perhaps we'll never know. The Black Dahlia may remain one of the greatest mysteries in American crime history. But as long as her name is spoken, as long as her story is retold, the case will never truly be closed. It will forever haunt the streets of Los Angeles, a mystery that refuses to die. Do you think we'll ever find out the truth? Or will the Black Dahlia's killer remain in the shadows forever? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into one of history's most chilling mysteries, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back with more unsolved crimes, twisted tales, and the darkest secrets of the past. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, because sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.